rock, in whom I take refuge. He is my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. I call to the Lord who is worthy of praise, and I am saved from my enemies. The cords of death entangled me. The torrents of destruction overwhelmed me. The cords of the grave coiled around me. The snares of death confronted me. Who has ever felt like they were Wile E. Coyote? Who in here even, wait a minute, we got to do a time and age thing. Who knows who the Roadrunner and the Coyote even is? I know there's some young ones in there, they're like, what are you talking about? Listen, we know that Wile E. Coyote had the best plans. But everything backfired, right? They always backfired. Just for a minute, think of your life compared to the Wile E. Coyote's life. How many times in your life have you laid the best plan out? How many times, you think about this can go wrong, that can go wrong, and you, just when you think you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed, it never works. And it always backfires and blows up in our face. And the battle was not only a physical headache, but a mental headache. Keep in mind that Cody dealt with defeat every day, sometimes several times a day. And that kind of life leads to not only physical abuse, but mental abuse. When you're defeated every day, what does that do to your mind?
Brings you down.
It brings you down. What does it do to your heart? Since here and here is only this far.
Right.
So if we go back and we look at Psalms, we stopped on verse 5, but if we look at verse 6, here's what we need. In my distress, I called to the Lord. I cried to my God for help. From his temple he heard my voices. My cry came before him into his ears. That, ladies and gentlemen, is where we need to be. Like the coyote, he tried handling things on his own. No matter how many times he failed, he still depended on his wit and will to win the battle. This morning in Sunday school, what are the 3 words?
It is written.
Now, we don't know, but perhaps there were other coyotes, they run in packs. Perhaps other coyotes tried to reason with Wile and tell him to seek help. But the coyote was far too proud to seek help. This was his battle, and he would win it on his own. Who can identify with that?
And we all do that.
And persistent. He never quit.
That's right.
I'm sure in the beginning, old Coyote thought there was no big battle. He probably caught many birds before, and this was just another day, just another bird. Is this getting somewhere? This getting somebody? Y'all can identify with this? Tell somebody I can identify.
I didn't know about that.
The no big battle theory does nothing but add confidence in our own strength. The bad news is we can identify. The good news is there's a better way. The good news is there's a way to turn your mourning into dancing, your sorrow into joy, and there's a way to move from victim to victor. Who knows David? David the victim. 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 David the victim Verse 4. The sorrows of death compressed me. The floods of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of hell compressed me about. The snares of death prevented me. No matter how you slice it, David was, as old-timers used to say, in a heap of trouble. Now, we don't have much problem admitting the victim part. In today's society, everybody's a victim, either a victim of somebody else's doing or a victim of their own doing. Who's a victim of somebody else's doing? I didn't do it, they did it. They made me do it. So there's another way of putting it. Who has given in to peer pressure? Everybody has. Now, if you like the victim role, and there are plenty of people who do, then now's probably a good time to leave. If you like being the victim, it's a good time to go. The key to this whole thing, y'all, we read it a minute ago, verse 6. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried unto my God. Two keys tonight for moving from victim to victor. First, there must be a confession of weakness. We have to confess this. We have to confess, ladies and gentlemen. David, when finding himself in distress, David, when finding himself in a battle, David, when finding his mind being attacked with doubt and defeat, admits he is weak and cannot defeat the enemy. Now, we do not see that statement of weakness word for word, but I will show you that he is declaring his weakness in a few moments. But I want us to realize the first step in moving from victim to victor is to admit our weakness. Why must we admit our weakness? Because only when we confess our weakness are we able to process his strength. 2 Corinthians 12:9. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproach, in necessity, in persecution, in distress for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong. Who does not go to God when we're feeling defeated? Listen, if we feel defeated, every time we see blue lights behind us, and that's the only time we pray, we're in more trouble than I can help you. Because I know everybody in here, when blue lights light up behind you, the first thing you do is, oh God. We're in trouble. Every little situation in our life, we need to go to God. Verse 9 says, his strength is made perfect. That is complete. His strength is made complete in my weakness. I confess my weakness that I might possess his strength. The reason why a lot of us never move from victim to victor is because we refuse to admit our weakness. I don't know any guy in here that wants to say I'm weak. I don't even know any women that want to say I'm weak. We're strong. We want to think we're strong. We want to walk through life being strong. We're taught to be strong. Don't be a weakling, be strong. How many times my dad told me that growing up? We have to admit there's something in our life that is our Achilles heel that brings us down. There's something that makes us weak. What is it? Do we know? Do you know? I know my weaknesses. I'm giving up a weakness today. Fasting for 7 days. I'm giving it up though. I may not be in a good mood come Wednesday night, but I'm giving it up. Y'all gonna laugh when I tell you what it is. But it's my weakness. It's my lucky charm.
Hey, I just got Got you a whole box yesterday.
That's gonna make it even worse.
He told me to.
The chocolate ones.
Chocolate,
No, any of them. It's
any of
cereal
them.
in
I
general.
love cereal.
Just cereal.
I am a cereal fanatic. I am confessing my weakness.
Especially the marshmallow ones.
I won't be eating any either, because that won't be
They
very
just added,
nice.
they just added more.
And see, this is all cereal because I'm an oatmeal fanatic. I love oatmeal. Who likes the banana and cream oatmeal? That is amazing. Oh. I'm gonna give it up for 7 days. I can't even go to sleep at night unless I have cereal.
Good luck with that.
Wednesday night we talked about fasting and giving something up for God. I told everybody, think of something you want to give up for 7 days. We'll do a 7-day fast. I'm losing my cereal. All right, lost my place. Okay, so the first key is to confess our weakness, but there has to be more than just a confession. I have confessed my weakness many, many times and have fallen on my face. I have failed to do the second thing David did to move from victim to victor. In my distress, I called upon the Lord and cried unto God. David not only admits his weakness, but also pursues God. After the confession, there must be pursuit. Not pursuit of the enemy, but pursuit of God. David realized a very important key in moving from victim to victor is that he was not called to pursue the enemy, but called to pursue God and allowed God to pursue the enemy. Look at somebody and tell them, I'm pursuing God. David declared that he was dependent on the Lord to deliver him, but David's dependency on God is found in his pursuit of God. And our dependency on God is found in our pursuit of God. If we're not pursuing Him, then we're not dependent on Him. Every morning we say we got to wake up and go to God. Every morning we've said it 1,000,000 times. First thing I do when I wake up is thank God. It can't stop there. It has to go throughout the rest of the day. You have to pursue God all day long. If you're stopping, then what's that old saying? An idle mind is...
The devil's playground.
In other words, if your mind is not thinking of God, then what is your mind thinking of?
Worldly things.
I want to ask y'all a quick question. This is probably going to create a bunch of controversy. But y'all know me, I love it. Whose world is this?
Satan.
How?
No,
Then
it's
that-
Satan. It's Satan.
If it's God's world, then the Bible's lying, because when God was being tempted, the devil said, if you will come upon this temple and look, I will give you all these kingdoms of the world, which was given to me, and I can give them to who I want.
He gave them all the same.
So he gave them all. And doesn't God also say, I'm not of this world, I'm of... Listen, we can't let our mind drift off to worldly things. We have to keep our mind on God. We can't be in this thinking worldly,
Thoughts.
and the enemy prowling around makes it so easy to take our mind off God.
That's back what I was saying last week on the same discussion, was talking about distractions. Distractions are the enemy of greatness, and who's the enemy? You know?
But Pastor Freddie, I can't go through life not thinking about anything but God. What if I forget to flip my safety harness off and I fall? I'm not saying make your life unsafe. I'm saying put God first. Lord, when I clip this safety harness off, I want you to have the strength if I fall to catch me before the cable does. Think. If we put God first in everything we do, we don't even have to worry about anything else. God's got us, man. God's got us. We must pursue Him in everything. Everything. Listen to how many times David refers to the source of his victory. Verses 6 and 7 says, in my distress, I called upon the Lord. I cried unto my God. He heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him even into his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations also of the hills moved and were shaken because he was worth. Listen, it says if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. If you cry unto God, it just said right there, mountains move. You've got to have that faith. Who has their mustard seed?
Always.
Y'all see how small it is? Mustard seeds. Folks, mustard seeds are very small. Very, very small. That's all the faith you have to have. Wow. How strong do you have to be to have that kind of faith? That mustard seed is the size of a pinhead. We have construction workers in here, carpenters, welders, pipe fitters. I know y'all strong. All you need is that much strength to move a mountain. That much strength to move a mountain. Who's tired of trying it their way? Who's ready to try it God's way? Who's ready to confess their weakness to God? I know I am. We're going to go back into worship music. We're going to take a minute and give everything we have to God. Take that minute and pray. If you want somebody to pray with you, I will be happy to pray with you. But